That's a good question. I'm going to relate it to mill rates because taxes themselves are not really related directly to property values one way or the other, but the mill rate is. And this is going to I'm going to give you an answer that's a little bit technical. It's a little bit complicated, but basically a mill rate is set to determine how much revenue is going to be collected via property taxes. And under the rules of the state of Connecticut, every town in Connecticut, so all 169 municipalities, are required to do a property revaluation once every 5 years. Now, that really doesn't change taxes in any way. All that does, the purpose of this state law, is to ensure that the town is using the most recent property values as an average in order to establish its mill rate. Because property values change all the time. I mean, even on a month-to-month basis, everybody knows that in the early spring is a good time to put your home on the market. You're going to get maximum price for your home. Probably the month before Christmas is not the best time to get the maximum value for your home if you have to sell your home. So property values fluctuate up and down during the year and from year to year and over the decades. So what happens is when there is a property revaluation, the town of Bethel hires a consulting firm and they go around. Sometimes it's a very complicated process where somebody comes and knocks on your door. Other times they use a statistical method. But this company, this consultant will spend about 2 years doing a full valuation of all properties in town, all residential, multifamily, apartments, commercial, industrial, the whole thing. Then they take an average of that and they compare that average to the last revaluation that had occurred 5 years ago. So when property values go up, the mill rate that's used to calculate taxes goes down by the same percentage. And from 1 year to the next, or from one valuation to the next, the taxes don't change. The revenue that comes into the town stays exactly the same. Now, conversely, if you do a property valuation, revaluation it's called, and your property values have declined, then your mill rate is going to go up. But again, as an average, the taxes don't change. What has happened to Bethel? And interestingly, if people read the News Times article a few weeks ago, it also happened to Newtown. Just by dumb luck, the town of Bethel happens to be on a cycle where our last property valuation in the 2000 decade happened to be 2007. And we all know what 2007 was. That was 1 year before, that was during the height of they called it the subprime mortgage market. And it was 1 year before the giant economic crash really hit the United States. So during that time period, single-family homes were valued way above the national average, and what that did was it shifted tax burden to property holders and away from commercial development. So in 2007, you saw big jumps in value, and people were saying, "Woohoo! You know, my home went up 30% in the last decade in value," but it was just a paper valuation. And consequently of that big increase in value, the mill rate was pushed way, way low. Our mill rate in 2007 was pushed down into the 22, 23 range. So fast forward 5 years later, now we're going to go through a property revaluation again. And now this is in 2012, and 2012 just happened to be the year that property values literally bottomed out. They started to take a hit in the economic crash of 2008, but they kind of hung on. 2009, they started to soften. 2011, they plummeted. Single-family home values just went right through the floor, and at the very, very lowest was in 2012, which happened to be the year that the town of Bethel and a few others in the area were scheduled to do a reval. That's what they call it. The lingo is a reval, short for revaluation. So what that did was property values dropped, so the mill rate went up, and it increased from like 24.6 all the way up to 31.12, I think it was. Now, a lot of people misunderstand that, and they look at that mill rate and they say, oh my gosh, look at that. That mill rate is the second highest in Fairfield County. That means that I must be paying, 30% more taxes than anybody. But that's not true. It is a reflection of this fluctuating value, and in actual fact, 91% of the single-family homeowners in Bethel saw their tax bill decrease when that change went through. Even though the mill rate went up to 31, their actual taxes went down. And that was because there was a shift. Remember I said back in 2007, commercial property owners got a break. Their taxes went down, and single-family homeowners like us saw our taxes go up. Well, really the 2012 revaluation was a market correction, and it reversed that. So in the 2012 grand list year, 91% of the single-family homeowners saw a decrease in the taxes, and the average decrease was 5%. Some people got a huge decrease, and I will reveal. I don't mind sharing this, and it's public knowledge. My taxes went down on my home because there was such a drop in value, a little over $600 per year. Now, even though we went through a little bit of a tax increase last year, today 2/3 of homeowners in Bethel are still paying less than they did 3 years ago. So you can see that this mill rate, which has been used, by the people who want to vote down the budget, it's been used really inappropriately and not quite correctly, because the mill rate itself does not mean you're paying more for your house than a similar house in Newtown or Brookfield. It looks like it, but that's not necessarily the case. So to the second part of your question, what can we do to increase property values in Bethel? Actually, they are already increasing very, very nicely. And I think when we have another revaluation, which is scheduled in 2017, you're going to see that 32 mill rate come down quite a bit because our property values are going up. So just this year to date, for example, I got some statistics in my office on Thursday. Year to date for 2015, so for the first 4 months of the year, we are seeing an increase of 58% in single-family home sales, and an average price increase, closing price increase of 4.35%. That's actually pretty healthy. So you have to remember that these revaluations are just a snapshot in time, and unfortunately, the last time we did it, 2012, was the worst possible year. It magnified that difference. But the property values are already beginning to rebound very nicely, and real estate sales are coming up. So the future looks good. Unfortunately, we're going to have what appears to be a higher mill rate until 2017 when we go through another reval. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean we're paying more taxes. It just means that the balance between the mill rate and the property values is what it was in 2012.
So in 2017, we should see